to stand up tall and proud. I want you to speak up clear and loud, brown baby.
In a world overrun with the fake, delusional, and disingenuous, he stands as a beacon of truth. He is Abuki Cabal. You are listening to Abuki Cabal.
Welcome to the Abuki Cabal Show.
What's going on, everybody? Sorry about being incognito for almost a couple of weeks here. It's been pretty hectic around here. But that's no excuse. Back to work, back to work. I've been trying to listen to, some of my favorite shows and whatnot, and trying to keep up with current events. Lots been going on. A lot of anti-male sentiment still thriving in the atmosphere and whatnot. I found a pretty interesting article here that we, don't really hear this perspective and from this direction that often. So this article in question here is about how Black mothers and grandmothers destroy their daughters. And we usually hear this coming from a male perspective, but in this case, it was an older Black woman who basically explored this from her own research and her own experiences. And she shines a light on it and talks about how important it is that this is dragged out into the light, because we all know that the color purpling of the narrative is pervasive, and we are usually the ones who bear the brunt of the responsibility of the dysfunction in the Black community. Let Black women tell it. And the numerous authors that are out here perpetuating this myth that Black men are just running around in droves, just basically, plotting the dysfunction and demise of Black women all over the country, is just falsehoods. I'm going to go ahead and get on into it. Hopefully you guys will enjoy this article. And, I was listening to Dr. T.S. Johnson's show on, the Stephen A. show, where the young lady called in and called herself chastising a grown man about his position on what was going on with this situation with Boston's coach, and how you find these women constantly coming out and wanting the woman to be shielded from any exposure, the stretching of protections for people who are either sexually assaulted or assaulted in any manner. Who anytime a woman is victimized, then her identity is shielded. Yet the man, usually, if it is a black man, I mean his identity and everything is just drummed out for the public to have their way with. And in this instance, she came out and called this or mischaracterized the discussion as victim blaming, and how this woman should not be brought out into the public, and for her part in a consensual sexual relationship with the coach and Udoka, and they both broke company policy. So logic would dictate that both individuals would be exposed. Actually, neither one of them should have been exposed. They should have been handled behind closed doors, and they should have been dealt with accordingly with regard to how the policy dictated that it be done. But in today's culture, and this is, I partially blame women for this, is because the salaciousness of stories are put out there, and who likes gossip the most? Who loves gossip on their plate, laid on the thickest for their consumption? I don't even have to say, you guys know who it is. That's why we have P Valley and all of this other content out here that basically men are not asking for. The debacle with She-Hulk. They're not making stories for us. They're not putting things out here for our consumption. They're putting it out there for them, because we all know the ladies get bored, and they love to gossip, and they love to enjoy other people's dysfunction, their private matters. They love to speculate about people's financial situations, sexual situations, any number of things, and they love to produce these false hierarchies in social status, as we can see with this. I've got more education than you have. I've got a bigger house than you have. I need luxury. We had one young lady that was on social media saying she's not dating for love anymore. She needs a Lamborghini, is what she says. So, we hear this constant misrepresentation of what their needs are, as opposed to what their wants are, as opposed to what they say that they need. It's mostly what they want. It's not what they need. Who needs a damn Lamborghini? Who needs a huge house and to walk around in sequins gowns when you don't even have it like that? But anyway, I digress. I'm gonna get into the article. I'm not gonna long stroke you, like the lead attorney says. Shout out, lead. Let's get to it. Let me get this set up for you, and I've got my trusty reading program all queued up for you guys so that you can listen to this as it's being. Oops. Wrong picture. There we go. All right. So let's get to it. How Black mothers and grandmothers destroy their daughters. This is by Yvonne Sam, social and political commentator. All right. This is her take on it, folks.
Hardly a day passes that someone, struggling with the often conflicting rules of race, as well as curiosity, does not pose the following question: how come black people are so screwed up? Most people skirt around it. Nonetheless, it does not matter if the approach is indirect or brutally inquisitive. With little concern of offending those from whom they are soliciting information, it rings the same way. The black community, long regarded as a complicated map of dysfunction, is battling a silent issue: the treatment black daughters receive at the hands of their black mothers. It remains a silent issue because, within the black community, black mothers are held to such high regard that if anyone speaks out about mistreatment or abuse, they will be the ones who get harped on for speaking the truth. It is known in the black community how mothers destroy their daughters. In fact, you can Google the topic and up pops an overflow of topics discussing the relationship between black mothers and their sons. Additionally, most newspaper articles are geared towards talking and emphasizing about how black mothers are destroying their sons. But on the converse, never anyone talking about how they are destroying their daughters. The disturbing and sad reality is that many black women are oftentimes suppressed by their mothers, with negative and discouraging remarks. It could be either mother or grandmother, but either way, daughters are destroyed by their mothers in some way, shape or form, and just cast aside for their brothers. Apparently they are not seen as a priority, which fuels into how many black women are dealing with emotional, mental, financial, and spiritual discord.
Okay, I'm gonna stop it right there for a second. Okay, she is, she talks about how they basically, these mothers and grandmothers, suppress their daughters with negative and just discouraging remarks. Well, there's something that she left out in this, and that is how these mothers and these grandmothers basically shape how their daughters view the men that they will encounter, as far as dating, prospective mates, as far as how they see their uncles, as far as how they see their fathers and their grandfathers. Excuse me. Okay, they talk down about these men, or either they minimize their contributions to the family in ways that shape these young girls' belief systems about what is necessary in their lives, what is love, what is proper communication, what is proper interaction between a man and a woman. We talked about this, we talked about, Lonnie Report, how, Franklin Frazier talked about the interaction between males and females in the black family on from Reconstruction on up to, the 30s. Then Lonnie Report dealt with the 60s, and then we have the Kerner Commission again talking about the effects of not investing in your boys, and then but that is seldom talked about the negative connotations, the characterization of these men. Well, Dr. T, Gigi, BGS talks about the historical ramifications of basically looking at your men as a detriment to you, as opposed to a loving and necessary part of your life and the need for coexistence. So, when you add that into the equation and you see a blank slate that is a little girl, and all she hears is that when you get older, or when that man gets older, he's going to tighten the reins on you. He's going to make sure that you can't go around. He's going to belittle your education. He's going to always try to keep you under his foot, and she characterizes that mother, their grandmother characterizes that relationship as a form of slavery or bondage, and not a relationship where a mutual love and respect takes place. When basic things like, cooking for your family, taking care of your children in a loving way. When all of these things are downplayed as things that are pigeonholing a young lady from, soaring into, what she views as what her life is supposed to be, i.e. the Disney fantasy of her being a princess and being catered to, having this perfect life, as if all women are going to have this perfect characterization, this depiction of what life is going to be. When we all know that life is hard, you know, when you coddle your boys and you coddle your girls and you tell your girls not to put up with this from boys, and you're better than boys, or you can do anything that a boy can do, which is what this this push for feminism from the 70s did. We're seeing the ramifications of that structured teaching of these girls, to the point to where now they are not functional in relationships. We're seeing masses of women who are not functional in relationships, and they only see education and things that women deem as important to be important. They don't even care what a man's needs are, what a man loves, what a man wants, what his dreams or aspirations, what makes him happy. They don't even care. But they'll tell you on these panels, they'll tell you what you should want. They never ask you what you want or what you like, any of that. We see that with She-Hulk. They're giving us what they think we should want. Although we've been reading She-Hulk for years. We've been reading Marvel for years. We've been, watching action movies and reading about the types of things that we wanted to and enjoyed consuming for years. But now we have an environment where these people are trying to give us what they think that we need, what they expect for us to accept out of society. And when you get pushback from the manosphere, they see us as cavemen who are fighting against the future. But let's move on.
Many daughters and granddaughters are vulgarized for their career, marital and personal choices, and face a lot of hardship if they make choices that benefit them. Yes, daughters are the ones who do not have a lot of freedom to enjoy their lives, while everyone else is free to enjoy theirs. Somewhere mom or grandma are making it hard for that daughter or granddaughter to have a life. It is alright if her brother does what he wants, but she cannot, and if she attempts to do something that improves her life, it's a big problem. The Black community.
Okay, now this paragraph, where she says, many daughters and granddaughters are vulgarized for their careers, okay, and marital choices and personal choices, and face hardship, a lot of hardship if they make the choices that benefit them. Okay, some of them may get this from their mothers. They may get it from us as well, but this is where the rebellion against, they see us as men. Well, you get to do whatever you want. They really think that we don't do things that we don't want to do, that we don't deal with discomfort and having to make choices that may not feel good for us. They think that we have the perfect scenario of being able to go out and do exactly what we want to do because of this mythical patriarchy that they always characterize as our benefactor. Okay, let's dig into this a little bit deeper here, and that breeds resentment, between us and them. You hear, and if you listen closely, you will hear them always say, "Well, why should you get to do what you want to do, but I don't get to do what I want to do?" They always characterize that in whether what they see as us, utilizing our options, exercising our options. Why shouldn't I be able to sleep with as many men as I want to if you can sleep with as many girls as you want to? They don't know how many women we're sleeping with. They just think we're sleeping with tons of women. You know what I mean? If we have certain things that we require before we settle down in a relationship, they always characterize all of that stuff as being unreasonable because it doesn't jive with what they think that they should have to do as a person. I shouldn't have to do that. If you ever hear a woman say, "I shouldn't have to do that," run as fast as you can. That's the biggest red flag I can tell you about. If you ever hear a woman talking about, that her mother's my mom told me about how you men get when you're old and how after you've lived your life, then you want me to just sit around the house and clean up and do all that. You hear that kind of talk from these women, and they're always saying things like, me, and not we. Do not engage with these women because it's only going to get worse as time progresses. You will not be in a better situation if you marry her and she's got some of the things that you like, but then you're hearing these things coming out of her that you also hear, her mom talking about. The more time you spend with her and her mom, the more comfortable that they get with you, and they start doing these things. When you start hearing these things, if you see abrasiveness from the woman, argumentative posture from the woman towards her father, towards her mother, when they ask her to do something and she's like, "Mama," blowing and just acting like she's extremely irritated by that, guess what? That's what you're going to get to. That's exactly what you're going to get. When she moves out of their house and into your house, that's what you're going to get. You are going to be the person who is stifling their individuality and their ability to be a Disney princess. And no matter, Kevin said, God bless you, Kevin. We miss you, bro. That he talked about the $100,000 and all this stuff that they always say that if you had $100,000 a year and if you were doing this and doing that, I don't care how much money you got, they will never see a situation where they can't talk crazy to you. It's in them, and it's in them from a generational perspective because it's been drummed into them by the grandmother, then the mother. So 2 generations of disdain has been drummed into them about you. And I'm going to tell you, there are good women out here, because I know I do have some female listeners. There are good women out here, but I'm going to tell you, for every 12 ratchets that you go through, you may find maybe 4 good women. And those 4 good women, they're going to probably be overweight. They're probably not going to be that attractive. There's going to be something about them that's not going to be right. That you're going to have to basically say, and I hate to use the word settle, but those are the choices that you're going to have. I mean, out of those 4 women, you may have one that's in shape. I mean, that's the statistical probability that you're dealing with here. If you do find the ones that are in shape, guess what? They're going to have the attitude. They're going to be the ones that can tell you, I shouldn't have to do that because they feel like they have options. And the only time that they're going to feel like they have to act right is once that wall starts to fast approach. Once they finally see it, but sometimes they don't see it until they got 1 foot in the nursing home. So, think about that, guys. Think about that. And I know there's a lot of guys out here that want, I love my mother, I love my sister, and y'all want to protect them, y'all want to, uplift them as queens and all that stuff, but that is not helping them. They've been uplifted as queens for what? A decade now. And you see the ramifications of a whole of uplifting these people who have now seen, begin to look at you as a stepping stool, as something that they just have to tolerate. And now they don't even feel like they have to tolerate you. They're just telling you basically follow behind me, vote for who I want you to vote for, do what I tell you to do, eat what I feel like you should eat, say what I think you should say, don't talk too loud, don't be too forceful. They have all kinds of rules for you, but none for themselves. I was looking at the Lapeef network here. And you had a young lady on there. She's running the show, and she's threatened her male guests, when talking about child support and whether the woman needs to, whether the man needs to pay child support when he has the child. And she brought up all these excuses as to why he needs to maintain her lifestyle while he has the kid. I get what is he supposed to spend on the kid when he has the kid if he's still paying her? But she couldn't see it. She all flailed around, bucking her eyes, shaking her head. But see, she's a pretty woman. She has nice hair, natural hair, and all of that. And she talked about, well, I'm so glad that I dated men who are comfortable basically giving me their money. They weren't good enough for her to be in a marriage to, but they were good enough for her to have kids. And she had nothing but disdain, talked over her guests, and then threatened them and said, well, do you want to remain on this panel? This is my show. Threatening to kick the people off the panel. I've never seen any man on around other than Kevin that would kick you off, but he would give you enough rope to hang yourself to the point where you started to, to basically run in place, and then he would basically kick you off the panel because you had out worn out your welcome, outlived your usefulness. So keep an eye out for those things. Those things are important. I wish and I wish I had had the kind of clarity that I have now when I was younger. And that's something that a lot of you guys that are younger are gonna wish for too. There are gonna be things that you see later on that you don't see now, and you're gonna be kicking yourself, but you can't really kick yourself because with time comes that maturity. We talk about Pookies and Ray Rays, but Pookie and Ray Ray is a stage for some of us, and for some of us, it's a condition. It's just something that remains. I don't think it's a large percentage of us who remain Pookies and Ray Rays, but we've all been Pookie and Ray Ray. That's the part that you don't hear very many people say that. But we've all had our Pookie stage. We've all had our Ray Ray stage, And now we are upstanding men trying to do good in the community, and we're still not respected. But let's move on here. I digress. On my box. Gotta get off my box here. So, she talks about how, the Black community shields and protects these mothers and grandmothers and well, no, we're not to that part yet. Okay. Talks about the women and being vulgarized, for not living the life that the mothers and grandmothers want them to live. And to some degree that falls into the grooming of women, young women to be feminine and to fulfill their role as wives. Now that's not going to be their only roles. Yeah, you can work too, but you have to be able to juggle. You have to know that just because you work, you cannot put your family and your husband on a lower priority scale than your job. If you do that, you won't be married long. Your husband won't have any use for you because y'all just gonna be roommates. You'll be roommates. You'll be passing each other, going to work. When you sleep with each other, that's exactly what you're doing, sleeping. Then you're having to schedule your sex. You're having to, taking care of your kids becomes a chore. Cleaning your house becomes a chore. You're spending more time at work doing for other people than doing for yourself. And you forget that you're working for money and not, totally investing your body, your mind, and your very, essence into somebody else's job, But we find that a lot of times that's what women are doing now. I have a job, so I really don't have to put up with you. I don't have to do what you say. I don't have to, you need to respect me for my education and all this other stuff. But you seldom see men going out throwing up their resumes in front of each other. Men don't do that. You don't see men wrestling with each other over, who's in charge. These things you see that this type of chaos in a world where men are competing, women are competing with men. I mean, you see it on ESPN right now. You have women who basically force their way into a male-dominated, platform that basically catered to male viewers. Yeah, I know women watch sports too, but looking back in retrospect, women didn't have no place in the locker room with a bunch of naked men. Women don't have no place on a panel arguing with ex-players about what their experiences were as men, their abilities are as athletes, what they can see and what they can't see from certain plays. But you got a woman on there that's in her 20s that probably has never played a sport in her life. And every time she opens up her mouth, she has nothing but disdain for the men that are basically making it possible for her to get paid. If there were no men playing sports, she wouldn't have anything to talk about. So, I mean, and they're picking from women who, used to be bartenders, used to, be waitresses, and either they worked in some field that had nothing to do with sports, So their main, attribute is that they're attractive and that they're, they have a snazzy attitude, and that they can stand up for themselves and emulate men in men's spaces, and the networks think that this is what we want. This is what we want to see, a lot of attractive women who basically look good, but lack humility, and act like savages. So, let's see. I'm going to finish this up and then we're going to go ahead and finish this article. Okay. All right. Talks about these daughters are the ones who do not have a lot of freedom to enjoy their lives. And that's another trope that you hear all the time. Why should I, do everything to make your life, great, and then I can't even enjoy my life. I can't do anything. I can't do this and do that. And then when you see them supposedly enjoying their lives, they're in, it's about a dozen of them on a girls' trip, on cruises and whatnot. No men around, going around, faking like like they're above their station, financially, around a bunch of women. They dress for each other. They compete against each other. My man has this, your man doesn't, I can buy all these purses, how many purses you got? They compete against each other like that. And then they tell us that they don't want to look good for us. But then on the other side of their mouths, they tell us that basically they get BBLs because that's what we ask them to do. I've never heard a man ever, I'm 52. I've never heard a man ever ask a woman to go out and go get surgery. Never. If she wasn't super duper right off the lot, he wasn't trying to go and get her, a breast job and BBLs and whatnot to try to get her up to speed. And for the ladies listening, what good is having a Ferrari with a Pinto engine? If you look good, but your guts are bad, your engine's bad, your mind is bad, you are of no use to any man in existence. So work on your mind, work on your femininity, work on your interpersonal skills and your ability to be able to coexist with men. And while you're at it, ask men what they want, what they're attracted to, what they need and desire in a woman, instead of telling them what they should want and need and desire and what they should like, and you'll go far in life. You know? So let's finish this up.
Community shields and protects mothers and grandmothers and turns a blind eye to the way daughters and granddaughters are treated. Yet they excuse the behavior of sons and grandsons, no matter how trifling they are. Some of the effects of how mothers and grandmothers treat their daughters and granddaughters are lowered self-esteem, increased self-loathing, developing eating disorders, and decreased socialization. There is little to be said and much unknown about how young black women are, oftentimes, the casualty of their mother and grandmother's insidious ways. Viewing the level of single.
See, but that's not what they tell us. They tell us that they've been victimized by men. Black men are the worst, detriment to their existence. That's the way they talk about us. You listen to these people across these panels, and that's what you hear. The total disdain for us. And, it clearly states here, and this lady she's an older woman, and she's telling you that basically the black community shields and protects mothers and grandmothers. Now, I know you guys saw that, we've had this stuff with R. Kelly and whatnot out here, and how these girls supposedly don't know, what they're doing, and they're not going out here trying to get these men. They're not acting in a hypergamous fashion, even though we know that that's how women act in all societies. If you have resources and you have money, and we know that women tend to date older men, because older men tend to have resources, tend to have the ability to be able to take care of them and take care of their children. Okay? This, protecting mothers and grandmothers, that's that queen. That's that queen stuff, It's, we're all queens. We should all uplift each other. That's the sisterhood, Now these grandmothers and mothers, from the feminist era who bought into the ERA movement and Gloria Steinem's, drumbeat, and the repackaging of history and making it seem like, all of the white feminists loved them, and they were in lockstep with them. They don't tell you that basically when they were out there trying to voice the issues in Black and Hispanic communities, that they would basically turn the mics off on them, because they didn't want to alienate the white women who were a part of the movement, because they didn't want to have to listen to what Black women and Hispanic women, Puerto Rican women were talking about, other women of color. So, you have these women who were basically trying to fight for their families when they were, when it was still kind of ingrained in them to do so. They turned the mic off on them. So what do you think that ended up, what effect that had? That was, okay, we better be quiet and ride the wave, and then maybe we'll get some benefits. Once we help Miss Ann get in the house, once we help Miss Ann get into the workforce, then we'll be right in there with them. But what they don't tell you is that historically Black women have always worked. They've always worked, and Black men have always worked. So both Black women and Black men were working outside of the house by force. They had no choice but to work together. Both people were making money. So, this thing about, we weren't able to go to school and all, that's probably because, when you were doing all that domestic work and whatnot, they wouldn't allow you to go to school because they didn't want you to be educated. They just wanted you to wash their dishes and wash their clothes and take care of their kids and make sure that everything was taken care of, so that white lady was fresh for her husband when he got home. They didn't have any problems with their women being feminine because they were good and fresh for the husband when he got home. They had all the energy they needed to go ahead and take care of his needs and talk to him about his daily activities and what happened at work and de-stress him when he got home. That's why, by and large, they're better than y'all sexually and dealing with their men than you are dealing with black men. You don't hear them talking about the disdain that they have for their men because they go home and they're well taken care of. And they know that I'm not fixing to bite the hand to feed me. I'm living in a good house. I'm up here. Look, you got women whose husbands been caught up in scandals, and they will come out and say, that's my husband. I don't care what, blah, 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 blah. That's my husband. They close ranks. They support their husband, and if that husband leave that job, they leave right along with him. They will not allow anybody to talk bad about them or other white men in that for that matter. You don't hear it in Japanese culture. You don't hear it in Chinese culture. Filipino, Thai, Brazilian culture, Mexican, Colombian. You don't hear any of that. But you know where you hear it? Right here. Right in the black community. Down south, all over the United States. Excuse me. You don't see them with a whole bunch of body tattoos and, legs tattooed up and talking rough. You don't see that. Matter of fact, these women in this article right here, that's rare. You don't see women like this very much anymore. And then you got women out here telling us that basically, we like Megan Thee Stallion types and Nicki Minaj types. Who told you that? So here again, she spouts out that these women basically protect their sons and all of that. And yeah, they do protect their sons. Their sons can be doing a bunch of dysfunctional activity, and they will coddle them. And then they blame, men who tried to basically teach them right for the dysfunction that's in the communities. We see that running wild right now again. She talks about some of the things that plague black women in our community today, and that is self-esteem issues, increased self-loathing. You don't like yourself, so you go out and you try to make. I'm not pretty enough, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put on a wig that's 18 inches worth of yaki or whatever it is that they put in their heads now. You get you a lace front. You got a lace front for every occasion. Nobody's ever seen your real hair. Nobody knows what you really look like. And then you say that we're hating on you because we want you to love yourself. Developing eating disorders. An extremely large percentage of black women are overweight. You want to work, but you don't want to go out there and get in the gym. I remember, I'm old enough to remember when women used to say, when we tell them to go to the gym, they say, I don't want to look like no man. Why would I go up in there and get all muscled up? I don't want to look like no man. I remember women telling me and other guys basically, why you got your veins all out like that? Why you all muscled up like that? You look weird. Then next thing you know, you see them out trying to bodybuild and trying to be fitness models and whatnot after they've already talked you out of your security and trying to be fit. That's another thing. Be comfortable in your own decision making. They will talk you out of a good decision as faster than you can believe. Be resolute in your position as a man and the decisions that you make and stand on it. If she don't want to ride with you, tell her, don't cut that corner. Don't try to talk me out of my decisions. Whatever comes with this decision, I'm ready to deal with it as a man. If you're not, then get off the train. So, again, eating disorders and decreased socialization. How many women do you know that can't stand other women? Can't stand men? don't get along with anybody, don't get along with coworkers, don't get along with people out in public. You know, you take them out someplace and waitress brings you some water. This water ain't cold enough. You know, just making up stuff to be pissed off about. That type of stuff. You know, you got to watch out for those things too. You know, but you'll see these things, and these things are like outward projections on other people, but actually it's just an indication of self-loathing. They can't stand themselves, and because they're miserable in their own skin, they're going to make everybody else around them miserable too. I know you've heard this term that women tend to lash out at the ones that they love, the ones closest to them. So they're going to destroy you because they love you. You know, and they expect you to be okay with that. Okay? That's why, when Kevin was talking about having to go and get a call girl so that he could take her to these functions because he didn't have a girlfriend and he wanted somebody that could basically work the room for him and tell him, come back, report to him about, who he should, go and talk to, telling people they should come talk to him to try to further his agenda. Most people have wives like that. But Kevin had to be resourceful. He had to go and get a woman that he had to pay to do the job of a woman that he couldn't find that was basically good enough to be a wife and to do something in a selfless fashion to perpetuate his success. That's because that's rare. There are a lot of black men out here that they can't find that because they're too busy trying to work on their own agenda, their own upliftment, individually and not as a group. Okay? So let's move on.
Childhood of young black women also points to how many of them have mothers and grandmothers who discouraged them from dating or had an active hand in destroying their marriage or relationship. It is no guarded secret, but a well-known fact, that more than half of young black women are, in fact, single and have never married. Yet science does not look into the sociological and psychological aspect, into why so many are, in fact, single, and those who deign to take the time to research can literally look at what part a black mother or grandmother played in that woman's single status. From a young age, black women are conditioned to learn basic skills in cooking, cleaning and housekeeping in preparation for marriage. Also, the change in generational norms have also made it possible for many young black women to have more choices in their lives as to whether they further their education or get married and have families. However, when daughters choose things that are beneficial to their lives, it may not sit well with their mothers and grandmothers. The simple reason being that they want them to live their lives according to their mother and grandma, not wanting to be the harbinger of doom and gloom.
Exactly. She's dropping gems here, And when she talks about the science does not look into the sociological and psychological aspects into why so many are in fact single. And the reason for that is the academy. All of these women who were in, these feminist studies that sprang up from the 70s and feminism basically took over psychology and sociology. And all of these studies that used to actually look into human behavior have now come into the business of basically demonizing men and the patriarchy, and trying to convince everybody that it is responsible for all the ills of society. And any testimony like this is not followed up on. Okay, Dr. Curry has done work on it, but he's one of a few. We've heard from other professors who have basically said that if you come out with this type of research, you'll never get published. And if you're a woman and a black woman that's coming out and saying these types of things, do you think that you're going to be able to put this out in a way that where you'll get funding for research and get published? Unlikely. But she's dropping gems. She's telling you the facts about what we see as black men and what women who are able to look at this in an objective fashion are able to see in our community. And we've tried to remedy this. We've tried to say that, hey, black women, you are a part of the black community. You are not separate. You should not act as a separate entity outside of the black community and drawing resources away from the whole. But no, this is what feminism has taught them to do. Look out for yourself. Don't worry about the community. They really believe that they can raise children on their own and continue to demonize men to the point to where men are just feel like they are just not a part of this society, and they just start opting out. They really believe that a man who basically puts forth effort in trying to date them and woo them is a creep. That's creepy behavior because he showed interest in you. It's dysfunctional in every sense of the word. The more you look into it and the more you stratify it and break it down to its parts, you'll see that every one of those parts is rotten. But let's move on. Oh, let's get into this part. They talk about how, from a young age, black women are conditioned to learn basic skills like cooking, cleaning, housekeeping. No, that's the thing of the past. They're not learning that anymore. Most of them don't even know how to cook. Most of them living off of chicken nuggets. What I call pan meat. They just throw some meat in the pan and cover it with some foil and put some water on it. Throw some seasoning on it, just throw it in there. No love in it, nothing. As little effort as possible to cook is what they get. And that we can get into the history of that. I mean, looking at the history of TV dinners, TV dinners came about so women would have more time to do the things that they wanted to do, and those things ended up being them getting educated and getting out to be a part of the workforce so that they could be basically manipulated into spending all of their money. And they see that as important. They don't see family as important. But then when you ask them, would they rather work or would they rather stay home and be taken care of? They say time and time again, they'd rather stay home. But then if they stay home, they're going to hate you for staying at home. Difficult, and just fractured creatures, just frazzled. Okay, so talks about choices. And a funny thing happens when the more choices that women tend to have, you'll see they start to get paralyzed by those choices because they can't make a choice. This goes back to, the story about, the man store. I ain't going to go into the man store. I'm sure we've all heard it. But when given, more choices, women tend to make choices, make more and more choices. They never lock down on any decision. They just I've got unlimited options. I got all these options, but I'm not going to do nothing. That's what it comes down to. Their ability, the more choices they have, their ability to make good choices diminishes. Okay, so let's move on.
But many black women fail to realize how their mothers and grandmothers are actually destroying them, from the inside out. The needy and oftentimes selfish behavior of many black mothers and grandmothers is obvious by how so many of them seem to look for reasons to keep their daughters on an emotional and psychologically short leash. It is a war, in action, because so many women are having to leave home at an early age, merely to escape the psychological and emotional prison in which they find themselves. This may emanate from the fact that their mothers and grandmothers came from generations where there was not much of a choice, with the only option being to marry and have babies. They did not have the choice of attending school or having a career. Such a situation could also spur jealousy and envy, where they wish that they had more options in their lives. but instead seem to find it easier to hold in check their daughters and granddaughters from getting ahead in life. The struggle of a black woman is more about trying to increase her chances at opportunities that she has been discouraged from pursuing. Because she is always engaged in dodging and ducking the negative remarks of her mother and or grandmother. It gives the impression as if the young woman is not listening, is non-compliant, and she will be presented to the family as being disobedient and a troublemaker. The behavior of mothers and grandmothers is an issue that needs to be openly addressed, instead of being swept under the rug. Where does it leave a lot of young black women, who are struggling to get ahead, but are having instead to put some distance between themselves and their mothers and grandmothers? Regrettably, many are undermined by their mothers and grandmothers and are painted as perpetual failures if they do not follow the career path, date a certain man, and live life by the terms of others. A black woman's happiness is of no consequence with their mother and grandmothers. It is a much larger issue than many really think, and if you think about it, a lot of this behavior is gradually conditioned into girls, growing up, and when they become adults. No longer can the issue remain at rest, the time has come for it to be addressed. When mothers, grandmothers and daughters' unity is maintained, then an entire community stands to gain. A luta, the struggle continues.
Okay, so there it is. Yeah, and you know what I was going to say about the R. Kelly situation and about some of these others. I mean, you see these women encouraging young girls who have left home, like this woman was talking about, left home at an early age to try to escape that. And you have other women who are in child protective services and whatnot telling the woman to go and sell herself, you know, and telling her how to do it. But then in this society, that woman will not be punished. You know, the women who basically were engaged in sexual activity with that girl with R. Kelly, they have not been punished. They actually extorted the man for money and got the money, and then went and put him out on Front Street, but edited themselves out of the tapes that they released. Okay? So when you got that kind of stuff going on, and you have this where no woman is being punished, but you will punish the man to the fullest extent of the law, and even beyond that, because you know you're gonna go ahead and assist in the demonization of that man in order for him to be taken out, you know. And think about it. This is a lucrative way to do business. You know, you can just move from man to man to man and just allegation until they finally get wise to you. By that time, you might have 10 million under your belt and you might have millions of dollars. You know? You know? Sometimes, you know, this stuff, it comes to the light, sometimes not. You know? There are whole books out here that teach women how to finesse men. And they're written by mothers and grandmothers. Okay? Not all of them are this way, but the ones who are dysfunctional are in a high enough number to where this woman, from her research, has basically indicated that this is a problem. Not only that, and then you listen to the men, you listen to the boys who have been in foster care, who had women who were basically talking down, you know, to young women and to the boys and telling them that they weren't going to be nothing, all along being paid by the state to take care of these kids and to give them a good home. Okay? There are numerous things that come to mind with regard to how these young women are being treated and how they're conditioned to be dysfunctional. And then when someone tells them that what you're doing is not right, they lash out at the person who makes the observation and not the person who's exhibiting the behavior themselves. They can never be objective about the behavior or the things that they're doing. You see women out here running over men because they see something on their phones. You know, just because a man cheats or if a man does something that you don't like does not give you free reign to go and delete that man or to injure him or to do anything of that nature. And for you to come out here and say that all men are abusers and things like that, this stuff needs to stop. It needs to stop. When you see men exercising their options, going overseas, passport bros, whatever that, you always come to the same old shaming tactics, which is they going over there to get with underage girls or whatever. They always try to bring the law in it to basically put you in your place. Okay? And all you have to do is you look on these panels. When you tell them about themselves, when you start showing that they don't really like themselves, that's why they're going out here, wearing all this weave, why they don't have a man, why why they out here, using child support against men and all that. You look at their faces once you start holding it up in their face. They will yap, yap, yap and talk to you, but look at their faces. The eyes don't lie. They will tell you that you're right about them without telling you that you're right about them. And you guys keep that in mind when you're looking at these panels, and they get all irate and they try to pull rank on you and stuff when you try to use, facts, data, and statistics on them. They tell on themselves. They can't help but tell on themselves. They are slaves to their dysfunction. This was an extraordinary article. I think it was very important, some very important points in it, and I thought it was very good that it was coming from a woman, an older Black woman who basically put this out there and said that this is a problem, and it is. One story comes to mind, and this I'm gonna tell this one, and I'm gonna let you guys go. I heard a story of about a young lady who's in a situation where her mother did not treat her kindly. Always treated her as if she was ugly. Her mother was what a friend of mine calls color struck. Always had something to say about how dark you were, and all these types of things. Treated one daughter better or worse than the other daughter. When the mother is asked about about the fathers and whatnot, she got real defensive and always had some excuse about not letting the daughters know who the fathers were. And then it eventually comes out from other family members that, the mom was all over the neighborhood. Mom had problems controlling her access to her person. So then the daughters hear this and still try to hold the mom to some kind of account. Mom, who's my dad? Who's my dad? And she don't know. But that's supposed to be the man's fault. But even by the family's own admission, it wasn't the men's fault. The men got the hell away from her because she wasn't right. And she was, it even manifests itself in the way that she treated her daughters, to the point to where her daughters are dysfunctional to this day. Going out and mooching money off of other individuals. Oh, I want to go out of town. So I basically go and mooch money off of somebody and say, hey, I want to go out of town. It never occurs to her that she shouldn't go out of town because she's broke. Educated. High level of degrees, yet you're broke. Your money is not manifesting at the same level as your degrees. You have a degree and you're making, 40 grand a year, but you've spent, $100,000 worth of money on your education. You don't have a man because you're not functional. You're not socially functional. You're traveling all over the place. You're begging people for money. You're going out of the country begging people for money. Can't get back. So you beg for more money. Then you get back. Then people, done messing with you. I mean, it's a nightmare situation, and this is real. Okay. And this ain't the first time I've heard about people like this, where people just, they don't see I don't have the money as a reason for them not to take a trip. You know, they'll beg everybody they know so they can get the money up so they can go take a trip because they feel like they deserve to go take a trip. That's the type of dysfunctional thinking that's out here. That's the type of dysfunctional thinking where they sit up and anytime they try to hold them down to any type of lifestyle, they want to compare themselves to Beyonce and all of these celebrities. They can never compare themselves to anybody real. They're going to make you look at somebody who has exorbitant amounts of money as if they have that same situation. And they're going to hold you as a man who's in their life to try to work yourself to death to provide them with things that you can't afford in order to prove your love. That's what we are. You know? It's dysfunctional. But I hope you guys enjoyed the show. It was fun. I apologize for my absence. I will try to continue to crank them out on the regular. I hope you guys enjoy this. It was interesting to say the least, and definitely made me think. Hope it made you guys think too. If you guys like this, please let me know in the comments, and we will go from there and try to pick out some other good stuff. I think I've got that you guys will enjoy. I'm trying to do some unique things and not try to cover some of the same things that other people are covering. It's kind of hard because it's like sometimes I'll get it and then O'Shea will beat me. BGS will beat me. Doc will beat me. Gigi will beat me. It's hard. And then sometimes, I don't know if you guys just want to hear my take on it, and separate from everybody else's. I try not to watch theirs until I get my own spin on it. Then I will. I am open to it. I appreciate you guys' support. I appreciate everybody who's giving donations. I appreciate that immensely. I appreciate all the subs. Thank you guys a lot. I guess I'm out of here.
I feel like a motherless child alone.